Please simply call me Mr. Charles. I am not a doctor, except you are giving me an honorary doctorate degree. In any case, I'm glad to be here. We are looking at uh, the blue economy and youth participation in Nigeria, issues and prospects. Please, if you are hearing me, can you type a yes, please? Because the last presentation, the audio was extremely bad. Please, if you are hearing me, can I see a yes, 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 please? So that we can flow together, because it appears the audio is really acting funny. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yes, so that means we are flowing. Okay, now, uh, I don't know whether I should start from the challenges, because what we have experienced in the past uh, close to 1 hour or so is one of the major challenges we have in Nigeria. Network problem. You have all the wonderful gadgets in this world, but you cannot hear yourself. It is a major constraint. Yes. Now, going forward, Mrs. McFoy has done a great job from the little I heard from her presentation, giving us insights into the blue economy concept, as it were. For starters, I would like to say that even though the world oceans, the seas, and the lakes, etc., have always been associated with the color blue, the subject matter here, talking about the blue economy, is a very recent phenomenon. And a scholar from Belgium called God Capoli wrote a book in 2010 which he titled The Blue Economy. I'm sure he wouldn't realize in his wildest imagination that that concept would take the world by storm the way it has done. And now everybody is talking about the blue economy. And I also recall that the United Nations, in their Earth Summit in Rio, what they call the Rio Plus 20, which was hosted by Brazil from June 20th to June 22nd in 2012, gave further illumination to this concept of the blue economy. Then, of course, the UN conference in New York in 2015, with their theme Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, brought the issue of the blue economy further to the fore, with the uh, Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, as we call them, with goal number 14, emphasizing on life below water. So that uh, goes hand in hand with what we are here to discuss today, the blue economy. What is the blue economy all about? By definition, the World Bank sees the blue economy as the exploitation of the resources of the ocean in a sustainable manner. Let us underline that, in a sustainable manner. So, yes, exploit the ocean, but how? Is it anyhow? Degrade it and leave it like that? No. You have to exploit the resources of the ocean in a sustainable manner, meaning that the ocean should continue to survive, even though it is being exploited for resources, for business, for wealth creation and all of that, job opportunities and so on and so forth. Now, the core sectoral activities of the blue economy cuts across both traditional maritime activities, which includes shipping and ocean freights, port operation and logistics, then freight forwarding and cargo handling, and of course, cruise passenger vessels and stuff like that. Everything that has to do with traditional maritime activity. But now, the blue economy concept is taking it further than that. And this, I think, is where the youths come in, because it is no longer possible to do things the way they were in the traditional system, because a lot of phenomenon has come into play of late. If you look at the issue of climate change, for instance, you know it's something that was not there before, but now the world is having to grapple with it. And with that comes a lot of challenge, because the ocean, as we know it, is a major source of wealth creation for humanity. And it has equally suffered a lot of degradation. Today we grapple with the issues of plastics, okay, and fields across our oceans. These are, everywhere you go, you see plastics floating, even on our drainages in our cities. All of these are emptied into the oceans, into the seas. And these are dangerous to aquatic life, because these are materials that are non-biodegradable. So, what are the offerings that the blue economy they have in stock for the youth? Because we are looking at prospects and challenges. Of course, you cannot find any better place where God has placed wealth than the oceans, the waters. The world is occupied by 75% water, only 25% land. So what that tells you is that the wealth of the world created by God resides mainly within the confines of the ocean. Okay? And how do we exploit these resources in a sustainable manner? What are those new fields that have come into play, going by the concept of the blue economy? Now we narrowed it to say blue economy and youth participation in Nigeria. But I wonder if we can actually narrow it to Nigeria, knowing that the maritime business, oceans, they are international in nature. But then we are domiciled in Nigeria, so we have to look at it from the perspective of our own environment. First and foremost, what is the perspective of government, for instance, in the blue economy? Because I know that a lot of countries, Australia, the Netherlands, Singapore, even China and all of that, the USA, they are fathoming out concepts, to drive the blue economy concepts in their environments. What is our approach here in Nigeria? You recall that of recent, we have what we call the Deep Blue Project in Nigeria, which is being driven by the Ministry of Transport and the MASA in particular. Their focus, to the best of my knowledge, has to do with the provision of safety and security on our waterways up to the Gulf of Guinea region. Okay, and to that extent, I'm aware that some equipments have been purchased to drive safety and security on our waterways, talking about the deep blue Abuja and the deep blue Lagos, then the four seas. Okay, as the command, control, computer, communication and information infrastructure, which is located at the curriculum facility there in Massa. Okay, all these are meant to keep our oceans and our waters safe and secure for maritime business to thrive. But talking squarely about the blue economy, I know Ms. Malfoy has mentioned a lot of things that are in the offer or on offer from the concept. We are talking about things like renewable energy, aquaculture. Aquaculture, that means farming on our oceans and on our rivers and seas. Fish farming, exotic seafoods like mollusks, periwinkles, and all of that. These are huge areas where the youths can pick their tent. You know, I like to say this. Just like you have it in the music industry, where people have their various interests. There are those who are interested, for instance, in country music, reggae music, jazz, Afrobeat, and stuff like that. The question I want to ask our youth, where does your interest reside? Where does your interest reside in the industry, in the vast economy we are talking about? Are you interested in the traditional maritime systems as a freight forwarder, as a seafarer, in which case you train to be on board ship? Or are you interested as an entrepreneur who will want to think outside the box and create solutions to the numerous problems we are talking about? I mentioned the issue of degradation of our environment, our sea and oceans. I know our youths are internet savvy, they are IT savvy, and these are areas that we are looking at, provision of solutions. Okay? Developed nations like the Netherlands, they leverage on their knowledge on wind technology, for instance, to create renewable energy systems for their nations. So, utilizing the waves, the sea waves, the ocean waves, to create energy that is different from what we know it here. Okay? We're also talking about things like subsea cable laying, fiber optics. These are areas that can engage our youth in the blue economic concepts. We're also looking at constructions, offshore constructions. A lot of activities are going on there. Oil and gas, mining. Mrs. Margaret talked about mining, something like salt from the oceans. These are areas that are novel. Okay? Equipment deployment to offshore facilities. Then, of course, ICT solutions, like I mentioned earlier on. These are areas where the youths can pitch their tent. Then, of course, we talk of ecotourism. It will surprise you that a lot of nations, especially in the Caribbean, They don't know any other thing apart from banana exports, which most of them engage in. Countries like uh, Barbados, Jamaica, St. Nevis and Kitts, and so on and so forth, Curacao, their major economy is based on ecotourism. Okay? And these are areas where our youth can also excel. Nigeria is not, I don't know whether we have keyed into that aspect of the maritime industry. I'm talking of ecotourism now. These are green areas where you can develop interest. It will shock you that about 60 million jobs are there on offer alone in seaside leisure and ecotourism, which can be exploited. So the internet is so rich in all of what I'm talking about now. So we cannot be laid back. We have to go out there, search out information. For those looking for jobs, for instance, if you search, you will discover that a lot of the companies are looking for employees in the marine biotechnology, where the offerings of the seas, of the oceans can be harnessed, pharmaceuticals and all of that. So it's not just the traditional movement of cargo from one port to the other that we are talking about here now. We are talking about exploiting the inherent resources that the oceans have to offer. So the blue economy is deep. Okay? I mentioned submarine technology, cable laying, and things like that. There are a lot of companies that are, calling for job offers or have jobs to offer in those fields. So we need to do a lot of training. Okay? Then, of course, sustainable energy from waves and currents. I mentioned it earlier on that there are nations that are steeped in all of this. Then climate change. The phenomenon of climate change is new, it's novel, it's something that we have not seen before. Because human activities have led to depletion of the ozone layer, and that has caused a lot of change in recent times. To the extent that the glaciers in the North Pole of the world, the cold regions of the world, those glaciers are melting and oceans are swelling, and we are seeing the results of flooding and tsunamis everywhere, and monsoon rains, especially in the eastern parts of the world. Okay, all of these are fallouts of the climate change, and a lot of national governments, especially in the developed world, are taking these issues very seriously to see how this could be mitigated. So these are areas where our youths can also think outside the box and see where they can key in. I know in my university we have a department that is dedicated to climate change. People are studying to see how to mitigate the effects of all of these things to the world as we know it today. So a lot is on offering away from the traditional maritime business as we used to know it. That is not to say that the traditional maritime business is dead. No. If you look at the Nigerian environment, for instance, for those of you are familiar with the activities in the Lagos area, you see that there are a lot of bottlenecks, a lot of problems that needs to be solved. Can somebody develop an app that will create solutions that will decongest our ports, for instance, and make it possible for cargo to flow from the Lagos areas to the other ports in Nigeria? These are areas that we can come in. Of course, we also have the cabotage regime which is another major area wherein our youth can come in. We talk of bunkering. When people hear bunkering, their ears clap because they are looking at, they think it's an illegal business. It is not. Bunkering is a very legal business. It's just that in Nigeria, we do not put things in perspective. Singapore, for instance, is a nation that does not have a drop of crude oil. But I can tell you they operate about 53 modular refineries. Because every vessel that goes to Southeast Asia must go to the port of Singapore to bunker their vessels. Why can't it be replicated in Nigeria, which is an oil-producing nation? More so, our delta region is an area where such facilities could be placed in our ports, where vessels coming to Nigeria and even traversing through the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa can stop by to bunker. These are legal businesses. But of course, what is the position of the government in trying to license bunkerers? That is a major issue. It is the absence of legal bunkering regimes that make people to seek for illegal means of bunkering their vessels. So these are areas that the youths have to take interest in terms of advocacy, because a lot of advocacy has to take place, and that has to come from the youths. Because if the government is laid back and they are not putting structures in place that will drive all these processes, there is a problem. So a lot of advocacy, young sheep has to be in the lead. I know webinars like this are meant to enlighten the youth on the way to go. So I'm saying that advocacy has to be one of the ways to go, because there are a lot of things that are supposed to be done which are not being done. For instance, the Nigerian government can create a blueprint or lead the way in trying to drive the process of the blue economy in the nation. I mentioned earlier their focus is on security and safety, which is not bad, because if your waterways are not safe, all of these things we are talking about now may be a mirage. So it's commendable. But I'm saying that we have to key into what is obtainable in other parts of the world. For instance, what level of sustainable energy are we trying to drive in Nigeria? Apart from the traditional energy system that we know, which is epileptic. So, how about ICT solutions to the numerous problems we have, even in our offshore fields? So these are the areas where advocacy should come into play. Now, aquaculture is a major area where I think our youth should also be interested, because you don't need to go too far to be able to do what we call farming on the seas. A lot of people rear catfish, a lot of people rear tilapias and all of that. All well and good. But all this has to be done in a sustainable development that will not degrade the environment, the marine environment. You know, this COVID-19 has brought a lot of relief to our oceans and our seas, because a lot of activities have been stepped down. So the oceans can breathe, at least for the past 4-5 months. Activities have been reduced a lot. But we have to begin to plan for post-COVID periods. After COVID, what next? Which role are we preparing to play? Where are our niche areas that we are looking at? Where is your area of interest as a youth and as a participant in the industry? If it is for seafaring, they prepare to go and train to be a seafarer. Prepare to get your COCs, what we call certificates of competencies, that will make you to be employable on board ships. If you want to be an entrepreneur, an ICT solution provider, go and study and see the areas you can come in. Okay? So that at the end of the day, you are relevant in the scheme of things. Because the maritime industry, the blue ocean, the blue economy rather, is a very wide field that you cannot cover everything. You can only take a little portion out of it. You can only play a little role because it is wide. If you are looking at only seabed mining, for instance, how much can you achieve? But key in and play your part. That is the message. The same thing as offshore oil and gas exploration and exploitation. A lot of construction work goes there, a lot of vessels. You need nothing less than about 19 different species of vessels to operate in the offshore fields. For instance, we talk of maybe like houseboats, okay, which is meant to house crew members that are operating in offshore fields. We are talking of passenger ferries. We are talking of sea ambulances, seismic vessels, okay, and so on and so forth. So the field is very wide, and there is a role you can play. But what I'm advocating is that you must first of all identify your area of interest as a youth, so that you be well guided. Because if you want to play in every sector, it is a difficult ball game. So you must choose, you must be able to locate your area of interest as far as the blue economy is concerned, because I have listed about 12 different segments. Maybe I should go over them again. I talked about aquaculture, I talked about marine biotechnology, I talked about climate change, I talked about offshore renewable energy, I talked about submarine telecommunication cable laying, I talked about seabed mining, I talked about offshore oil and gas exploration and exploitation, then of course ICT solutions, then construction, equipment deployment, sustainable energy from waves and currents, then seaside leisure tourism, or what we call ecotourism. So, is it possible for you to play in all these sectors? The answer is a capital no. So you must choose where your competencies are. You must choose where your passion is, so that you leverage on it, learn on it, get education on it, so that you can play effectively and efficiently. Because when you are well guided in your chosen area of interest, I can tell you that you will fly high. Because these are businesses that are international in nature, and how far you'll be able to go will be determined by how much knowledge you have garnered for yourself, and how much you have reached out to ensure that your knowledge is applicable at the end of the day. So like I mentioned, a lot of youths these days are ICT savvy, and the internet is a good leverage for any person that really wants to go far in this industry. So I want to believe that enough has been said, and we can go forward from there. So I want to thank you all for listening.